You're listening to the AngryMarks Podcast Network.
Welcome to JGW. I am your host, Jordan Garber. This is an interview I've conducted with the Gift, Jason Kincaid. Jason wrestles around the Tennessee area, West Virginia area, and comes up to Manitoba every now and then for CWE wrestling. Here's my interview with the Gift, Jason Kincaid. Jason, the Gift Kincaid, how are you today, Jason?
What's up, Jordan?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Greetings, grappling fans.
And it's always good to have Jason the Gift Kincaid on. So pretty much, let's get right to it. I ask this wrestler every question when I do my interviews. How did you get your start in professional wrestling, and how's your early experiences witnessing the wrestling?
Originally, I got my start under a guy from here in West Virginia called Scotty McKeever. He was the first guy I approached about training. I trained with him for a few months. He went on the road, and then I pretty much finished up my training with the Batten twins, Bart and Brad Batten, which Brad Batten passed today, so rest in peace, Brad. My first experiences in pro wrestling were pretty tough. One of the things that Scotty McKeever put me through was, in wrestling, we learn how to break fall before we learn anything else. So we learn how to land safely on our backs, as safely as humanly possible, that is. And he would have me doing the break falls over and over and over again and would tell me, don't stop until I tell you to stop. And then he would leave the arena, completely leave the venue, and come back and just to see if I would still be doing it when he came back. So, I mean, that's the type of training that I went through, was really trying to make me quit to see if I was mentally tough enough to be in the sport of professional wrestling.
Well, and that's the thing I learned, too, is if you guys go back on the archives of the show I used to do, which I still do from time to time, Wrestling Road 247, there is a wrestler by the name of Johnny Cashmere who brought up a point where he was trained by Pitbull Gary Wolf, and if he was throwing up and everything, he was puking, and once he started puking and kept on doing squats and kept going, Gary said to him, "You're trainable." So I guess it's that test that you actually want to do it. Am I correct? Like, if you pretty much you have to prove to them that you're trainable by showing how much heart you have, by how hard it gets as you go along, pretty much.
Right. You just have to prove that you're worth their time that they're investing, because wrestling's tough. I mean, when you're starting out in the wrestling business, you're going to have to sleep in your vehicle sometimes. In the middle of winter, you're going to have to set up and tear down rings into the early mornings. You're going to have to wrestle night in and night out, injured, not just hurting, but literally injured. And that's the type of people that you want in the sport, or the people that you know have the heart to keep going. Those are the people that you want to invest your time into, not somebody who's going to get blown away with the wind, so to speak.
So after you finished training and you were booked for you got your first few bookings, once you just got try to look back to your first 3 shows that you were booked on. What was going through your mind during the first few matches you've had? Were you nervous, and how quickly did you get used to it and adjust to working a match properly with the workers?
I was very nervous, really, really nervous my first few matches. My first match, I wrestled one of the guys who helped with my training, TJ Phillips. So it wasn't quite as bad, because I knew going into it that he wasn't going to try to hurt me, to actually injure me in the match. I at least thought that anyways. So that match wasn't as bad. The next couple matches, maybe a little bit more nervous, because they were outside of my comfort zone with people that I hadn't trained with. But as far as the nerves and getting used to it, really, if you ever are standing at the entranceway and you don't have butterflies in your stomach before you go to the ring, then it might be time to quit, because you're way too comfortable. You should never be that comfortable with what we do.
One thing I learned was that you got to make yourself stand out from the other wrestlers. You can't try to be another version of someone else. And that's what you do, is you bring a very unique gimmick to the table. Tell us how that whole thing came about and how you're enjoying it, and pretty much how you came up with that awesome idea of the gift, Jason Kincaid, that entire gimmick.
It's not really a gimmick. It's just me being comfortable with myself, finally. So for a lot of years, I tried to be like a wrestler's wrestler. Like, I really wanted to be like the Dean Malenko or the Dory Funk Jr. or these guys that I looked up to. I wanted to emulate them, or I wanted to be what my trainers wanted me to be. But it wasn't until I got comfortable with my own skin that I really started to express myself and my look and my personality and the way I wrestle in the ring. So I think it just came with time, and it came with me discovering who I was and what I really wanted to accomplish out of the ring.
Here in Canada, we have the Fight Network, and I watched a program called TCW, and it was kind of funny because all the guys who come up from Tennessee, including you and Sigmund, I think you guys worked with TCW, and it looked really good. Like, it had an awesome stage set. It looked like a professional wrestling TV show, not just an ordinary TV independent wrestling. It looked really high class. Pretty much tell us about TCW and how that went for you.
Yeah, TCW, Traditional Championship Wrestling, was based out of Arkansas. One of the matchmakers there just happened to see me on YouTube, and that's how I got hooked up there. They had a great production value, quality production value, but they also had a tremendous roster of competitive athletes. The level that it's probably the highest level that I've competed with on a regular basis, week in and week out, would be TCW as well. And I think, it's one of those things, just like a wrestler has to be in the right place at the right time to kind of catch a break. You can have so much skill, but it also requires a little bit of luck. I think with TCW, it was the same thing, that I think they would still be around and they would be a top promotion, but they just didn't catch the right breaks at the right time, because a big-time sponsorship can make or break a wrestling promotion. And if one comes through, you're set for 6 more months or a year, or if one falls, that can mean the difference. And I think Traditional Championship Wrestling is something I was lucky that it's still airing in Canada, and I can get that exposure off of it to this day.
And then we kind of talk about your career down in Tennessee, where you work for a man with a very great reputation by the name of Tony Gibbons, he is the owner, or the promoter, I should say, of NWA Smoky Mountain. So you wrestled there, you still do, and you were a former NWA Junior Heavyweight champion, if I'm correct. And how was NWA Smoky Mountain, especially not just wrestling for just that other promotion experience, but with a promotion with all the history? Do you enjoy working at a high level with a class act promotion like NWA Smoky Mountain?
Yeah, of course. NWA Smoky Mountain is what I consider my home promotion. That's where I really am based out of. Even though I'm from West Virginia, a lot of guys call me a Tennessee guy, because those are the guys that I run with, that I'm on the road with. Those are the guys that I have some of my most memorable matches with, are the East Tennessee wrestlers. And NWA Smoky Mountain has really been a home to me. And I believe Tony Gibbons is one of the best promoters out there on the independent level right now. And it's something that I feel like I'm not just a part of a promotion, but I'm a part of a movement. And I think that movement will really take off one of these days.
There's something that obviously, and this is obviously from what I've done before. I've done these interviews, and I've even been a victim of it as well, or maybe been involved in it, to say the least. Is a lot of politics that happen in the wrestling business. Can you, pretty much, if someone's new to the business, maybe someone like myself on the media level of it, or maybe a wrestler breaking in or dealing with backstage politics, backstage bullies, that's regular now. Unfortunately, that's a regular now on the independent level, and obviously in the big levels of WWE as well. what do you think about the whole politics game, and how do you deal with it?
Well, I'm not a political guy, but I've never had a problem with politics, because a lot of times what people perceive as politics might just be guys actually really enjoy each other's companies, so they might help each other out. So on that level, maybe it's not a political thing, it's just a friendship thing or a brotherhood thing. But I think guys like myself are guys that kind of rise above politics in a way, because I just handle myself in a way that politics don't really impact me in one way or the other. I treat everybody with the same respect and kindness that I would want to receive. So politics don't really bother me. So that would be my advice, really, to young wrestlers that are worried about politics or politics or impacting their careers, is just really treat people the way that you would want to be treated, and usually you'll get that same type of feedback back into your life. You know, if you're putting out positive vibrations, you're going to get positive vibrations back. And as far as bullying, stuff like that, there's a certain masculine machismo culture behind professional wrestling that you're going to have that type of what can go from good-natured ribbing to complete harassment of the younger guys. But once again, it's all about how you handle yourself. So if you're the type of guy that really has thin skin and lets stuff like that bother them, then you're going to make yourself a target, because when people do stuff like that, what they want to do is get a reaction. They're pushing your buttons to see what happens. You know, there's always that guy that wants to push the red button that says do not push, just to see what will happen. So if they push your buttons and you don't react in a negative way, then they're going to get bored with it and they're going to leave you alone. Or if, they push your buttons and you react overboard and you end up assaulting somebody, that could be bad for you, but at the same time it could be so bad for them that maybe they'll leave you and other people alone. So, there's that other side of it where, you got to stand up for yourself.
And that's just not for wrestling, obviously. That's for everyday life, too. Exactly what you said is, if you're going to treat someone like a dick, then they're going to treat you like a dick as well, probably, or vice versa. And that's obviously not just for wrestling, but in the real world as well. So everyone listening and who doesn't know that already, take note of that, obviously, as well. We're going to sidetrack. We're going to talk about, we'll ask the whole WWE sign thing a little later, because I know that's a pretty cool experience, probably for someone like you. And we'll talk about TNA. But right now, I will tell us, it's kind of cool, because up here in Winnipeg, technically we're in the middle of nowhere. We're bordering us is North Dakota, Minnesota, rural Ontario, and Saskatchewan. There's not much around here. But, of course, Danny Duggan, also known as Danny Warren, has put up a good product here called CWE back in 2009. And this year he brought you guys in from Tennessee, which at first I was thinking, that's kind of random, bringing Tennessee. But ever since he brought you guys in, it's even added even more excitement to the product. Tell us how you got the call to work for CWE and how it's going, pretty much.
Yeah, with Canadian Wrestling's Elite, I got my start there just by messaging the matchmakers and trying to get on these tours that I've been hearing about. Because here in the United States, we've got a lot of one-off events. So you might have a promotion, say, like TCW or NWA Smoky Mountain are good examples that run quite a bit, but they're running every week. They're not running multiple days a week. So now that a lot of the independent weekly promotions that were around when I started, you could get a Tuesday, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and, you'd be wrestling at least 4 days a week, and then pick up a random Sunday or maybe a random Wednesday, and then you could work up to 6 days a week. But nowadays, it's really a Friday, Saturday type of gig. Whereas, I mean, there's still some promotions here in the States that are holding on to their weekly events, and I'm glad that they're out there because it really helps guys like me who are trying to carve out a living at this, ply our trade. But for the most part, it's really just a Friday, Saturday type of deal. Whereas there are a few promotions in Canada, Canadians Wrestling Elite being one of them, that are still running tours, which is they'll run from, say, Tuesday to Sunday or Thursday through Sunday, Monday off, and then Tuesday through the next Sunday, which is an experience that a lot of guys here in the United States don't get because nobody's running tours like that around here. So for me, that was the most important aspect of me wanting to get up there because I want that experience of being on the road for that many days, especially when I can get a tour of the United States on the way up, going Illinois and Iowa and North Dakota on the way up, and then once I get to Canada, I have 6 to 10 more dates when I was there. And plus, you know, there are a lot of great athletes in Western Canada that I'd like to be in the ring with and that I'm glad that I've got to get in the ring with through CWE, including Danny Duggan and a guy by the name of Kamikaze from Alberta.
Great guy. My first ever guy, actually, it's a funny fact. If you guys want to look way back into my personal career involving wrestling, it's the first guy I've ever interviewed was Kamikaze. And that's the thing about CWE is that they give you that personal, like, it kind of gives you, like, that personal experience. It's more interactive where whether you're a fan, someone on the media side of wrestling, like doing podcasts, interviews, all that stuff like myself, or, like I said, casual fan, interviewer, or wrestler, you always have that interactive experience. You're always going to get a positive impact most of the time. So that's always a good thing as well, for sure. And you brought up wrestling, like there's promotions that don't do much of that nowadays, where they do a show a week. Mostly now, like for example, the CWE, they only do their tours once every few months. So, but that's the thing too, is that it's really rare to see independent wrestling shows run shows weekly. Most of them are monthly. I may be wrong, but pretty much that's the way I see it for sure.
Definitely. But, you know, that's the thing is down here we get a lot of promotions that I can easily wrestle every Friday and Saturday.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's
it's
what
hard for me to get a tour.
Yeah,
you know?
I meant just
so
for one
on that side
promotion.
of it for CWE, you know, it's a great experience for the guys that are able to do it so they can see what it's like to wrestle 6 days a week or more.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, and it's obviously the tours have been a great part of it, and Danny Duggan has changed the local wrestling scene for sure. And I'm not here to put anyone over or do all that. I'm just saying what I see. So it's always good to see CWE. I recommend you guys check it out as well. Someone wants to break into the business. They just finished training and they're green. What's some valuable advice that you can give them to just start out in the business and kind of survive the first few years?
I think the most important thing for a young wrestler straight out of training is to realize that your training's not over yet. So no matter how good your trainer is, they can only teach you so much within the time that it takes you to get ready to be in the ring for your first matches. After that, it's on-the-job training. And to me, the most important part of that on-the-job training is finding a great wrestler or a great veteran athlete for you to apprentice under. So for me, I had Scotty McKeever, I had the Batten Twins, I had the Cuban Assassin Jr. I had guys that would take me on the road and I would go and wrestle for whatever type of money I could get, whatever opponent they would throw me. I just needed to be on the road with a veteran wrestler, listening to them talk about wrestling, break it down, deconstruct it for me, tell me what everybody on the event's doing wrong and what everybody on the event's doing right, to watch my matches and to teach me the craft on the road. And by traveling with a veteran wrestler, it also gives me a chance to get out there and not just wrestle the same guys in front of the same crowd, which can lead to stagnatism creatively.
It's funny that you brought up the Cuban Assassin Jr. As in the Cuban Assassin Jr., you're referring to Richie Acevedo, am I correct?
Correct.
That's awesome because if you kind of, like I said, you look back to what I've done, I worked with him before so that's kind of a familiar name as well, and when it comes to the wrestling media side, he taught me a few things as well, which was awesome. It was awesome to work with Richie, for sure, and he mainly wrestles in West Virginia, so if anyone's listening around there, you can check him out in West Virginia. So you're watching
he's really one of the first guys. I just want to say that he was really actually the first guy to take me on the road and take me under his wing. So I'm infinitely in his debt for helping me out in those formative years. Yeah,
he's a great guy for sure. It's funny that I say this because I've been watching Raw. I don't know, it's probably been a few months ago, but everyone's been watching Raw, and then I'm on Facebook and I'm scrolling through my news feed, and I see sign Jason the Gift Kincaid. What was that all about? Is that just a random fan? Is this stuff planned? What's going on behind that? And plus, how did you feel when you saw a sign? That must have been a mark out moment where you see someone holding a sign supporting you, and it's shown on WWE television. How did you feel when you saw that?
It's really cool, man. It makes me feel like I'm already signed. Because for me to have a connection with the fans where they're going to go out of their way, pay their own money to get the right seats to be seen on national TV, to ask the promoters and the matchmakers of not just WWE, but also there was signs at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, to ask them to sign me. It makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a professional wrestler, and that's connect with the fans.
So do you ever know who did that, or you still don't know who that was? I guess that was just some random fan holding up a sign supporting you, I guess.
So there were a few different ones. Like I said, there were a couple at Raw, there was one at a pay-per-view, and there was one at SmackDown, and then there was one at a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, I believe. And for the most part, it's a woman, actually, not a girl, out of Nashville, Tennessee, that I've maybe met like a couple times. But she'll message me on Gmail every once in a while, tell me how much she enjoys my wrestling and all that, but always really super respectful. But she's not the only one. The fact that she did it kind of made it a little bit of a meme where other people are now going out with these signs, sign Jason Kincaid. And, it just really means a lot to me, especially her initial effort to try to get my name out there. It's really cool.
And then we sidetracked to TNA. You worked just a live event, and obviously nowadays I'm discussing this. Obviously, if you guys have been listening to the past few Impact Implosions I've done, which I don't do on a regular basis, I just back up if the regular hosts aren't there. But I've discussed TNA's drop in crowd rate. The point is, technically, on paper, TNA is the second largest wrestling company in the world. Some might disagree, some may agree. But you worked a house show. How was that? And how was that for you? How did that turn out? You worked with Chase Owens, who's also a personal friend of yours. So just tell us how that went about.
Yeah, it was a really good experience. I actually got that gig through Tony Gibbons in the Bay Smoky Mountain promoter because he was working with TNA to help promote their live events in that area. I really enjoyed my match with Chase. If I could go back and do it again, I would have done some things differently. But it was a great experience. The guys there in the locker room were all super cool. Matt Morgan had some great advice for me before my match. Zema Ion was there. He's a West Virginia guy originally, so he was cool. I already knew AJ Styles from wrestling him on the Indies, and he was great to be around again. So, it was all around good experience, and it's something, I'd like to take part in again, hopefully, in the future.
Awesome stuff. I went through everything I wanted to ask you. We pretty much went through everything in your career. Not everything, but we went through a brief overview, which is awesome. So pretty much we'll wrap it up. Is there any last words you want to say to the fans here on AngryMarks.com or Jordan Garber fans or just wrestling fans in general?
I just want to say thank you for your continued support of not just Jason Kincaid, but professional wrestling as a whole. If I can be so bold as to speak for professional wrestling as a whole, thank you to all the wrestling fans. You can follow me on Twitter at @GiftKincaid. You can find me on Facebook. Yeah, I'm the type of guy. The reason I have such a strong connection with the fans is because I feel like I'm humble and I'm very approachable. So if you see me at an event or you want to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, I will reply. And just want to say, greetings, grappling fans.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
That concludes our interview for today. Thank you for listening. Of course, you can keep up with me on Twitter at